Hello everyone. Right, today is the day two for our AI exam preparation, and we are going to start with the unit two, that is AI project cycle, where you can score 13 marks from this chapter. So to score 13 out of 13 from this chapter, you have to concentrate mostly on these topics. What are the topics you have to concentrate is, first is the problem scoping, the 4 Ws of problem scoping, data acquisition, data features, data sources, training, testing and validation, data exploration, data visualization. So these are the topics, and the more we are having, that is what next is what modeling. From the modeling, rule based approach, learning based approach, supervised learning, classification, regression, unsupervised learning, clustering, dimensionality reduction, neural networks, 3 layers of neural networks, features of neural networks, right? So before going to start, the first topic from this unit to is your AI project cycle, the 5 stages of AI project cycle. From, if you are perfect with the definitions, there is a scope of getting 2 marks from these children. They may ask you to define problem scoping, data acquisition, data exploration, modeling or evaluation. And 4 marks also direct question. They may ask you to explain the stages of AI project cycle. Not only that, they may ask, they will give as like a scenario, and they will ask you to explain this stages depending upon that scenario, right? So first we will start with problem scoping. What is problem scoping? Problem scoping is the first stage of AI project cycle. What we are going to do here, we are going to solve the problem, right? We will identify what is the problem and we'll come with a solution for that problem. That is what problem scoping. Starting from with the problem scoping, you set the goal for your AI project by stating the problem which you wish to solve with it. Under problem scoping, we look at various parameters which affect the problem. So this is a definition where you have to write for 2 marks. If they were asking you define problem scoping, you have to write for 2 marks, and they may ask in the objective also, like in which stage we can identify the problem and we can come for the solution. At that time, you can choose like a problem scoping. And the second stage of AI project cycle is data acquisition. What is this data acquisition? As in the problem scoping, you had identified the problem and you came with that. For that, to solve that problem, you require the data. So what you are going to do here in this stage, you are going to acquire data which will become the base of your projects, as it will help you understand what the parameters uh, what are the parameters are related to problem scoping, right? The second stage is a data exploration. Data exploration is what the third stage of AI project cycle. First, you had identified the problem. Next, you had collected the data related to that problem. And the third is the data exploration. After collecting the data from various reliable and authentic sources, what you will do, you will collect a large quantities of data. Okay, you can try to give it a visual image of different types of representation like graphs, databases, flowcharts, maps, etc. This makes easier for you to interrupt the patterns which you are acquired data for. So this is a definition of data exploration, where you have to write for 2 marks. You can write by your own words also, children, but when you're writing by your own words, here the key terms are very important. When we see the key terms here, what is that? Here you are going to collect a data, a large quantities of data, and you are going to, what you will do, you will remove the unwanted data from that, and you will keep the data which is necessary for that, and you will give a meaning to that, and you will, what you will do here, you will represent that data in the form of graphs, by using different data visualization tools like graphs, databases, flowcharts, where it gives, by using this data, it will be very easy for the developer or to the machine to understand the data. Next stage is what? Modeling. After acquiring the data and after exploring the data and after giving a patterns to the data, now you will come to design a model. So why you are going to design a model? You will design a model to achieve your goal. You had come with a problem, and the problem scoping, you had identified the problem and you came with a solution. For that solution, by using data acquisition, you had collected the data by using different data sources. In data exploration, you had given some patterns to the data, the acquired data, by using different data visualization tools. And in modeling, you are going to design a model for that. Means you are coming with a solution for we are going to design a model for your solution, right? To design that, you will be having different various models that we are going to see in upcoming. And the last stage of AI project cycle is what? Evaluation. Once the modeling is done, once we have designed the model, what we will do here, we will check whether the model is working properly or not. That is what the evaluation. If it is working properly, what we will do, we will start using our model. That is what deploying, or else again we will start the procedure stating from problem scoping. Right, children? So these are the 5 stages of AI project cycle. One by one, I want everyone to learn the definitions where there is a scope to get 2 marks for the definition, either in the objective or in the 2 marks questions, right? And they may ask for the 4 marks also. So, right. I think I am clear with this, children. Next, what we are going to start. Right. Now, we had seen the definitions of each stage, right? Now, we will see in detail about these stages. The first stage is what? The problem scoping. So in the problem scoping, we are going to identify the problem and will come with a solution for that problem. This is done by using what? Few steps. That is what? 4 W's. This is very important, children. There is a scope for asking for the 4 marks from the 4 W's, right? Who, what, where, why, right? Who block represent? Who are the stakeholders? What do you know about them? Means what? You will identify the people who are getting affected directly or indirectly due to the problem. Those people will call them as the stakeholders. Okay. And how they were facing this problem. With your solution, how they will be getting benefited. This is what? Who canvas. Who canvas? Who block means what? You will analyze the people getting affected directly or indirectly, means you will identify who are the stakeholders. What do you know about them? Means how they are getting affected with the problem. What block? What block is nothing but what? This is a stage where you will identify the problem. What is the problem? As you came with a problem, to say that this is a problem which you are facing or the stakeholders are facing, do you have any evidence to support the problem, and how much big is that problem? So have you read the problem anywhere in the newspapers, articles, or media announcements, where how you came to know that that is the problem? That is what block. You will identify what is the problem and how you came to know the problem and how big is that problem. Where block? Where block is nothing but where is the problem located? What is the context? Where, at what situation the stakeholders are facing this problem? Every time they are facing this problem, or only at particular context they are facing this problem? That make in the where block you will identify that. So, and next, why is the solution? You will come with a solution for your problem, and you have to say in the why block why this solution will be used. If you are using the, if we are coming with a solution, how this will solve the stakeholders problem, right? So why is the solution required? Why will the solution add value to the stakeholders? These 4 W's canvas, generally they will come with a scenario, means they will give a scenario with a problem and they will ask you to come with a solution for that problem by using 4 W's. In that case, what you have to do, you have to identify the problem and what is the problem, how you came to know that problem, at what context the stakeholders are facing this problem, right? And where is this problem located, and what, with what solution you came, and how you will justify that your solution will help the stakeholders. So this bold, who are the stakeholders, what do you know about them, what is the problem statement, evidences to support the problem, scale of the problem, where is the problem located, what is the context, why is the solution required, why will the solution add value to the stakeholders. Along with 4 W's, you have to write about the problem scoping statement. Whatever you have written over there, that 4 W's, you have to mention that in the form of a template, children. That is called as problem scoping template. When you complete your answer by writing these 4 W's along with this problem scoping template, then only there is a scope of getting 4 out of 4, children. If you are missing this problem scoping template, when they were asking 4 W's for 4 marks, if you had not explained this problem scoping template, then you cannot expect 4 on 4. to get 4 on 4 from this answer, definitely you have to end your answer with the problem scoping template. Whatever you had written over there in the who block, here, the bold one, who are the stakeholders, right? How? What do you know about them? What is the problem statement? Evidences to support the problem. That is what, at what context, at what situation they are facing. How your solution will benefit the stakeholders. This you have to write in this stakeholders, issue, problem, need, context, situation, benefit of solution for them. In this way, if you complete your answer, then you can score 4 on 4. Please mark, children. This is very important. From this chapter, you are going to get 4 marks questions, 2 children. One you will get definitely from this, 5 stages of AI project cycle, and one we can expect from the neural networks. So please concentrate, children, here on this topic. And the next one is the data acquisition. As I said, what you have to concentrate in the data acquisition, the different types of what sources data they will ask you. Last time in 2024 they asked what is the use of data in AI, and what are the sources, different data sources we can use to collect the data. So at that time, what you will do, you can write the different data sources where you can collect the data by using what you have to mention. Why data is very important in AI? Why without data, we cannot train the machine. So in that way, data is very important in AI. And when you are giving the data, that data should be what? Accurate. It should be what? Authentic, right? And you should not take any false data, and you should not use any other person's data, right? So all these things you have to write over there, and you have to mention the methods of collecting data, that is surveys. Surveys means you will go to the people, you will ask them, and you will collect the data. And the data can be in the form of what? It can be in the form of text, it can be in the form of numbers, and that the type of data, we'll call it as data features. So there is a scope, data features, they may ask for the 1 mark. The type of data you are collecting is called as what? Data features. Means what? Like if you are going to collect numbers, okay, if you are going to collect the data in the form of a text, that is known as what? Data features. Refer to the type of data you want to collect. Next, methods of data acquisition. Here, what are the different methods you will use to collect the data for your project? Data acquisition is nothing but, children, this is a stage, second stage of AI project cycle, where you will collect the data which is required for your project. So when you are collecting the data, what are the different methods you will use to collect the data? That is what? Different data sources. When they were asking you to write what all the different sources you will use, different data sources you will use to collect the data, then you can say that surveys means going to the people, doing some survey and collecting the data. Web scraping, searching in the internet, through the sensors, through the cameras, by observing the people, API from the applications. So these are the different data sources where you can use to collect the data. This is very important, children. And the next one is what? Training data and testing data and validation data. It is very important, children. Here, what training data is? The data which we are giving to the machine for training purpose. That is called as training data. Right? Testing data is what? You will give the other different data. Here, training data and testing data should not be same. If the training data and testing data are same, then that is not a good model. Here, the training data and the testing data should be different. If you are training the model with one data, you have to test the model with another data. Suppose you are training the model to identify the images of your classmates. Okay, when you're training, you had given their passport size photos, right? For the testing, you can take any other photos and you can test whether the model is working or not properly. Training data is the data which we give to the model during the training purpose. Testing is what? To check, means whether the model is working properly or not. That is called as testing. And validation is what? Data the model has not been trained on and used to tune hyperparameter. Means you will check. Validation is what? Whether the model is trained properly and whether it is going to give proper answer or not. That is what? Validation. Right, children? In data acquisition, once again I'm repeating, second stage of AI project cycle. Here you have to write the definition of data acquisition. Means data acquisition is collecting the data which is required for our project. Here the next one is what? Types of data, structured data, unstructured data, that they will not ask. Okay, you leave that. And the next is what data features. You have to concentrate on data features, means the type of data which you are collecting is called as data features. And the next is what different data sources, means the methods you will use to collect the data. Next is what training data, testing and validation. These are the points in data acquisition. Right. Next is what data exploration. What is data exploration? Now you had acquired some data. Okay. And that data is complex. It is full of numbers, right? You have to make some sense of it and you have to create some patterns out of it. For example, if you are going to a library, you pick up a random book. First, what you will do, you will go through its content by quickly turning pages and by reading the description before borrowing it for yourself, because it helps you in understanding whether that book is appropriate for your needs and interests or not. So if you are arranging the data in a sequential manner, by giving different patterns to that, and it will be very easy for the developer to understand, as well as the machine, where the machine can understand only what binary language, right? So here you can convert that into numbers, that is 0 and 1, right? So you can represent this data in the by using different data visualization. Means what, you can make a sense of the trends, relationships and patterns contained within the data, define strategy for which model to use at a large stage, communicate the same to others effectively. To visualize data, we can use various types of visual representations. One more thing, children, after collecting the data, here you are giving a meaning to your data. And what you are going to do to give that, after giving the meaning to your data, you are arranging the data in a sequential manner and in some patterns by using different data visualization methods. When they were asking what are the different data visualization methods, you can write the graphs, charts, right? And Excel sheets, all those things. Here is very important stage, children, that is modeling. Now you had collected that. First, you problem scoping, you identify the problem, come with the solution, and you're collecting the data which is required for your problem. And next stage is what you are arranging the data in a sequential manner by using different data visualization tools, and you are giving some patterns to that. And now by using the data, you are going to design your model. So for designing a model, here we are having two types of models, that is rule based and learning based. Very important, children. I am thinking, I am having a confidence that this year in the exam they may ask this like rule based and learning based for 4 marks question. So when they were asking you to define rule based, modeling means, again children, here you have to write the definition of the model which I explained previously. Now the types of models is rule based, learning based. What is this rule based approaches? Here the rules are defined by the developer. According to the rules, the developer should work, right? The machine follows the rules or instructions mentioned by the developer and performs its task accordingly. For example, we have a data set which tells us about the conditions on the basis of which we can decide if an elephant may be spotted or not while on safari. So this is what our condition. On the basis of this few conditions, we can say that what the elephant is spotted on the safari or not. So on which basis here the parameters are outlook, temperature, humidity and wind. Visual representation, bar graphs, okay. And AI models, learning based, machine learning, deep learning, rule based. Now let's take various possibilities of these parameters. We can use any method in this. So now we are coming with the rule based. So what is the parameters and how this model should be trained? See, now the developer is training the model in that way, right? When the outlook is forecast, when the temperature is normal, when the humidity is normal and wind is equal, on this basis, what should happen? That it should say that the elephant is spotted. Okay, the elephant is spotted. The machine should say if this parameters were there, then the machine will predict that, okay, the elephant has spotted, right? This is rule based approach, means according to the rules it will work. Who will create the rules over here? The developers. Another example, children. Now you are preparing for your exam, right? When you are preparing for your exam, now as a teacher, what I did, I'm creating you a rules how to prepare for your exam. Children, please read, prepare for your exam in this way, then you will get good marks. Right? You are following my rules. According to that, you are preparing for your exam. Here, you are not making your own algorithms. You are not using your own methods for learning. How I am saying you are learning and you are going to write the exam, right? So that is what rule based approach, working with the rules. Here, who is going to define the rules? The developer. This point you will write, children, and again from here you will write, you will give this example of elephant. Okay, this next what here, this is known as rule based approach because we fed the data along with the rules to the machine, and the machine, after getting trained on them, is now able to predict the answers for the same. A drawback feature, what is a drawback feature in this is, children, in this rule based approach is, once, right, what the learning is static, means the machine once trained does not take into consideration any changes made in the original data training data set. Suppose what I had trained the machine now, when the outlook is forecast, temperature is normal, humidity equals to normal, and wind equals to weak, at that time it should predict that the elephant safari has happened. But here, all of a sudden, I changed my parameters. I started training the machine stating that when outlook equals to forecast, temperature is what? High. But the machine will not work, children. It cannot take the changes all of a sudden if you are making any changes in the data. Why? It is static. Here, the learning is static. Means once it was learned with one thing, it cannot change again and again. That is, if you try testing the machine on a data set which is different from the rules and data, you feed it to the training stage, the machine will fail and will not learn from its mistakes. It cannot learn from the mistakes. It cannot take the feedbacks. It cannot improve on the feedback. The learning over here is what? Static. So what you will do here, thus machine learning gets introduced as an extension to this, as in that case, the machine adopts change in data and rules and follows the updated path only, while a rule-based model does what has been taught once. Here, it will not accept the changes. What you are training, only that, for that it can do. It can, if you are making any changes in the training data, it cannot be trained and it cannot work according to that. So from here to here, you will write that example, elephant example you will write, and you will write that rule-based approach means the developer will create, say, rules. So when you're writing this, you can score 2 marks out of 2. Next is what? Learning-based approach. This is also another method of what? AI models. Learning-based approach here, what is this learning-based approach? Here, the machine will learn by itself. Here, the developer is not going to create any rules, children. Here, the machine will learn by itself. Suppose I had trained, now listen, see, children, under the learning-based approach, the AI model gets trained on the data, fed to it, and then is able to design a model which is adaptive to change in data. Means, that is, if the model is trained with X type of data and the machine designs the algorithm around, the model would modify itself according to the changes which occur in the data so that all exceptions are handled in this case. Suppose now I'm designing a model to identify what? Apples and bananas. So I had trained the model with 100 images of apples and bananas, right? This is my training data, children. Now when I'm testing, I'm not using the same apple images. I'm not using same banana images. I'm using the different apple and banana, but it was labeled as apple and banana, but the images are different. But still it can accept and it can say that this is banana and this is apple. But when it comes to rule based, in that case, it cannot identify the different images. What images I had trained, only that it can identify. If I'm showing the different images, it cannot learn by itself and it cannot identify and it cannot give the answer. There it is static. Here, what? It is not static. It will change according to the, it is very adaptive to change in data. Right? So most of the models were designed on the what? Learning, by using learning-based approach, right? So their features and can predict the label of any images which fed to it an apple or a banana. After training, the machine is now fed with testing data. Now the testing data is not similar to the training data, children, once which the model has been trained. So the model adapts to the features on which it has been trained and accordingly it predicts if the image is of an apple or banana, right? Why? when we are training, it will not see the image. It will take the features from that image. We will give different features. Apple is in this way. The color of apple is this. So it will take the features of it from that. And whatever the shape of apple we are showing, it is able to identify. Different images of apple also it can identify. That is happening in what? In the learning based approach. So this rule based and learning based approach comes under what? Modeling. Modeling definition you have to write, and you are having two types of approaches. AI models, those are rule based and learning based. Rule based works with the rules which were created by the developer, and here the drawback is what? Static. It cannot, whatever we are training, only to that it can predict, and it cannot, it can give the data. Here the training and testing data both should be same, then only it can give the correct information, children. Learning based approach is what? It is adaptive, it can for the changes. So here the training and testing data can be different, where it can predict the answer. That is what you will write with the example when they were asking for the 4 marks, children. If they were asking for the 2 marks, just you write the definition. The key points in this learning based is what? Here it learned by itself, it is adaptive for to change in data, right? And in the rule based, here the developer creates the rules. In the learning based, training and testing data are different. When it comes to rule based, the training and testing data both are same. These are the key terms in this answer, children. Next, this learning based approach is divided into 3 types. Very important, children. Supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. Last year, one question is there on the scenario based. They asked from the supervised learning, right? So please concentrate on this, children. Supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. Supervised learning. In a supervised learning model, the data set which is fed to the machine is labeled. Means what? Here the data which we are giving to the machine is what? A labeled data. A label is some information which can be used as a tag for data. Suppose I am labeled, I'm holding my ID card. You don't know me. By seeing my name in the ID card, you can identify, okay, my name is Madhuri. Means what? With a label, you are able to identify my name, not with the features of my face. For example, another example for this, students get grades according to the marks they secure in examination. These grades are labels which categorize the students. Means the children who belongs to A grade, please stand one side. Who belongs to B grade, stand one side. Means what? We are categorizing the children depending upon the labels, right? This is supervised learning. Here we are going to train the model with the labeled data, right? And here we are having 2 types. One is classification and regression. These 2 types, when they were asking define supervised learning or with an example, you have to explain. Classification means what? Here the data is classified according to the labels. But here what? Here they will use what? Discrete data set. Means once we are classifying the data where there is no changes in that data. Suppose students are classified, grading system. Students are classified on the basis of the grades they obtain with respect to their marks in the examination. This model works on what? Discrete data set, which means the data need not be continuous, right? This is a key term in the classification, children. When they were asking for the classification, you have to define this and you have to write this diagram. Next is what? Regression. Such models works here, that works with the discrete data, it works with the continuous data. The example is what? If you want to predict your next salary, then you would put this data in the data of your previous salary, your increments, and you would train the model. Here the data which has been fed to the machine is what? Continuous data. Next is what? Unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning model works on what? Unlabeled data set. Here we will not give the data by defining the labels. We will just, what we will do? Randomly. This means the data which is fed to the machine is random, and there is a possibility that the person who is training the model does not have any information regarding it. The unsupervised learning models are used to identify what? Patterns, relationships, and trends out of the data which is fed into it. Suppose now you see, I am giving the raw data, all multiple shapes I am giving. I am not labeling them, children. I am just giving the raw data to the machine. Now what it is doing, it is designing its algorithms and it is processing. And how output I am getting? I am getting the output if I am asking the different shapes in that what data, it is segregating depending upon the shape and it is giving me, right? So here when I'm giving the data, I was not labeling that. An unlabeled data set I was given. Even I don't know, I like what data, how to label that. The user will give a random data to the machine. It will take that and it will interrupt. It will create the algorithms over here and it will process and it will give the output. Right? This is unsupervised learning. Here in unsupervised learning, you are having two types. One is clustering, dimensionality, reduction. Last year, for the objective, they had asked the clustering children. Refers to the unsupervised learning algorithm which can cluster the unknown data. Means here what the unknown data was divided depending upon the patterns. Okay, in the classification, discrete data, again their continuous data. Here what the data was segregated depending upon the patterns or trends. Right, this is what clustering. It is a part of unsupervised learning children. Supervised learning is a labeled data. There we are having two types. One is classification and regression. Unsupervised learning, we are going to give unlabeled data, right? And here the two types are clustering and dimensionality reduction. There is a scope for 4 marks from these children. Please concentrate on this topic also. Dimensionality reduction also will come under what? Supervised learning. We humans, what we can visualize the 3D dimensions, but what about the systems or the AI applications? They cannot visualize that. When we are representing, see, if you have a ball in our hand, 3 dimensions right now, but if you click its pictures, the data transforms into what? 2D. To reduce the dimensions and still able to make the sense out of the data, we use what? Dimensionality reduction. When you are reducing the size of the objects to represent them in the form of like 3D to 2D, at that time, the data in that should not be lost. So that is what dimensionality reduction. Reinforcement learning is not there, children. And evaluation definition I said there. And this about this evaluation, again, we will see in evaluation chapter. And the very most important topic is the last topic in AI project cycle is what? Neural networks. There, last year also they asked about the neural networks and the 3 types of neural networks you have to explain. You have to write the definition of neural networks. And this diagram is very important, children. See, this diagram they may ask you in the exams also. Like in the objective, how they will ask the larger neural networks, they will show this diagram and they will ask. The larger neural networks tend to perform better with larger amounts of data, whereas the traditional machine learning algorithm stop improving after a certain saturation point. You have to write this here. Neural networks definition. That is what neural networks are loosely modeled after how neurons in the human brain behave. The key advantages of neural networks are what? It can extract data features automatically without needing the input of the programmer. So these from here to here, you have to write the definition of what? Neural network. It is a fast and efficient way to solve the problems for which the data set is very large, such as an images, right? A neural network is nothing but which will work like a human brain, right? As a human brain are made up of nerves, here what these neural networks are made up of what? Neurons. But both will work in the same way, children, right? So this diagram is very important, as I said, and the 3 layers, input layer, output layer, and hidden layer. How they are going to work, that you have to explain where you are having in this paragraph, children. This is a representation how neural networks work. A neural network is, see, when they were asking you to write about neural networks, you have to write the definition of neural networks and the 3 types of neural networks. Along with this diagram, children, there is a scope of 4 marks, this diagram, this one, this input layer, hidden layer, output layer. Here input layer means what? We will give the input. Okay, we'll have only one input layer, and each layer is further divided into several blocks. Those are called as nodes. Each node has its own task to accomplish, which is then passed to the next layer. The first layer of neural network is known as the input layer. The job of an input layer is to acquire data and feed to the neural network. What it will do, it will take the data from the user and it will send that data to the hidden layer. Here you can have multiple hidden layers, children. Very clearly I'm saying you can have only one input layer, multiple hidden layer. Hidden layers will, what they will do, they will take the data from the input layer, they will process them, and if it is not possible with one here, hidden layer, it will send to the other hidden layer. In that way, you can have multiple hidden layers for processing your data, and the final output will be given to the one output layer, right? The output layer is used to show, to give what the processed data to the user, right? These are the three layers where you have to explain very clearly, children, then you will get 4 on 4. And next is what features of neural networks. Neural networks, when they were asking the features of neural networks or the advantages of neural networks, then you have to write neural network systems are modeled on the human brain and nervous system. They are able to automatically extract features without input from the programmer. Every neural network node is essentially a machine learning algorithm. It is useful when solving problems for which the data set is very large. With this, we will end with the chapter 2, children. Once again, I am saying, first, you have to concentrate on the stages of AI project cycle, the 5 stages, their definitions. Next, one by one, the definition of each stage, right? And next, what clear explanation of each stage, problem scoping, 4 W's, right? And along with the problem statement template, data acquisition, definition, right? Data features, data sources, right? And training data, testing data and validation, data exploration definition, data visualization tools, right? And next comes what? Modeling. In modeling, definition of modeling, 2 types of modeling, rule based and learning based. Again, learning based is divided into 2 types. What is that? Uh, what is that? Supervised learning and unsupervised learning. 3 types. Reinforcement learning. As reinforcement learning is not there for you this academic year, and supervised learning is divided into 2 types. That is what? Again, classification and regression. Supervised learning will be used the labeled data, unsupervised learning will be trained with the unlabeled data. And what here? Unsupervised learning, again, what? Clustering and dimensionality reduction. Next comes your neural networks, definition of neural networks, then the 3 layers and the advantages or the features of neural networks. With this, if you're perfect with this topic, you'll get definitely 13 marks, children, right? Thank you, children.